Pow, 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 pow. Sorry about that little muddled there intro with the overlays and everything. It's been a huge day here at POW headquarters, or Lily Labs, as we call our family web shop. So you might hear both Ula and Lillian in the background. They have been celebrating with me all day. Let me know if everything is all right. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're watching this live, I would love to know. And also, if you're watching this in a replay, comment anyway, because it's always nice to know who's listening in or who's following along. And you do that all in the comments below. If you're in the replay or in the chat, I think this way or that way, I'm not sure. And if I've had the time and you're watching this in replay, there might be some timestamps in the description. But enough about that. Let's go on to the POW celebrations. The POW celebration, and Krista knows how to do it. Pow, pow, pow. I already had a little bit of wine because we have opened what I would call our virtual backstage on coffee. I'll show that in a minute. And my good friend Snorre decided to chip in with a big glass of red wine. So cheers to you, Snorre, if you're watching this. Chin chin. Yeah. And for people who have followed with for a while, I now have a new microphone, which means that on Sunday's stream, I can do coding and typing without typing on top of the microphone or like messing around with a microphone, and you will hear that. So, but over to today's topic. It's been a year. Can you believe it? It's been a year since POW launched on International Women's Day 2020. For many of us, that was also the last real life party we had. So good memories. It was a magnificent day. I'm going to see if I can share some images from the day. And also I have a tiny bit of slides today that I've created for a 15-minute Jamstack meetup that I'll be doing later today, I guess in an hour or something. It will be nighttime in Oslo, but I think it's daytime in Toronto where the meetup is happening. We've also had a tiny bit of a pre-stream today, so I'm all energized. A little pre-stream birthday party. Okay, let me see if I can share. Let me get the slide I wanted up here. Share screen. Chrome. It should be this one. And there you see it. Oh, look who's here. AK, welcome. I love to see you here. So this was March 8th last year. We had a very nice launch party for friends and family at Vespa, our home away from home, or at least my home away from home. They're not doing so well right now, but we are hoping they will get back in business when everything opens up again. As I said, a magnificent day. And for the people who are new around here, I just want to share a little bit about what POW is. Also, a little bit about the POW backstory, and then we'll go into the kind of regular monthly status updates with our stats. And then we'll have a look at future plans for POW. Thought about making a slide for that, but didn't. So we'll all be chitty chatty, you know, how I like to do it. So I'm going to have another sip of wine. Okay. So what is POW for everyone who's new around here? It is the Privacy First Menstrual Cycle Journal. And why do we need such a thing? Well, I like to say that it's going to be an application, or I guess it's a web app, a Jamstack app, where you can log everything that happens in your cycle in a very private and secure way. And why it's so important to be private is because if it's private, then I'm thinking that people will be more honest. And since it's private, we cannot use the data for anything. We cannot like data mine it. We can't do we don't share it with anyone. And since we don't really need to fit you into a pre-assigned box with how you log your cycle. So in POW, you're allowed to use your own words and languages. Let me see if I can find that slide. I think I made a slide on that. Yep, it was actually the next one. I wouldn't have needed to. So our slogan is take charge of your menstrual cycle. And we do that by making sure the data is private. We let you use your own words. And by doing so, we hope that you get to know your cycle better. Or that is at least our goals. I don't know if we're 100% there yet, but we're just going to keep on keeping on. And in the end, we will deliver on that promise. So I have a little story about that. I have this like kind of mood, I would say, that I call Mullefunk. And for most of the tracker apps that are out there, and you might have noticed I call ours a journal because you write more of like journal entries and then you hashtags the words that you would like to keep an eye on. So in regular trackers, you can just choose between pre-selected kind of moods or symptoms. And I would never remember if I had kind of logged this Mullefunk as like angsty or angry or depressed, or what was that? But I know that mood, but I didn't really find the proper word for it. So whenever I knew it happened again, I didn't know which one to select. So it's one of kind of the basis or the ideas behind POW is that you can then use your own tags. So whenever I go in, I'll just do maybe a journal entry and then I hashtag Mullefunk or whatever else that is happening that day. And this is, of course, where I should show you all a demo. But if you're following on the stream, I tried to create kind of a demo system a couple of months back, but I haven't really finished that. So I don't have a proper demo to show you, but you can visualize it. And then let me know if you use POW, if it kind of answers to whatever you have visualized. And then, oh, there are some more people showing up. Hello, Evan. Thank you for being here. And these are all people from Discord groups I've been joining this last year. So there has been some fun things happening while in kind of a semi-lockdown as we have here in Norway, where I have kind of gotten back to that. You know how the internet was when we were like teenagers? You had friends you'd never met in real life and it felt like real friends, and they are real friends. And I feel like I've kind of found back that kind of community feeling this last year due one part in Snooty, who is represented by Christopher here in the chat, Discord, and also the Discord that I've joined for JavaScript study group that Eva and Agata is from. So thank you for making this year, super nice. Super nice. I really, really enjoyed getting to know everyone. Back to the scheduled program, or what should I say? Let's talk a little bit about how POW came to be. So let's see if we can find that slide. So I have, have you taken, sorry, there's people in my background. Focus. I'm going to have some wine and we'll focus. I don't know if that helps though. Yeah, so Agatha says, let's bring back the forums. So funnily enough, though, I wasn't actually that active in the forums. I was like an ICQ, I think it was called, girl. And Droy is here. I will have to do a pow, 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 pow. So nice for everyone to show up. This makes me so happy. And yay for study groups. And there are people talking in every room. So I'm going to try to concentrate. Anyhow, let's go back. I'm going to share again the backstory of POW. Since it is POW's first birthday, we had to call it a birthday, a little bit so the intern would understand what was happening. And since it was a birthday, she said, we need cake. So we had cake for lunch today, decorated with the POW logo. It's always good. Yeah, we like to include the intern, our daughter, who is 6, into the business. And she has some great ideas every now and then, or I don't even say every now and then, all the time. She has great ideas all the time. And she has also wanted to make things for our new backstage area that we can sell so that POW will become even more successful. I'm saying it again. Let's go back to the scheduled programming. So how did POW come to be? So it looks here like here on the slide that it all started in February 2019, but the story is actually a lot older than that. I think for a lot of developers like me, menstrual cycle tracker apps, systems, whatever you want to call it, has always kind of been in the back of our minds. For some people, it's like content management systems. For some people, it's like dinner preparation. It's like one of those apps that you never really feel are completely the way you want them. And for me, it's been like that with kind of menstrual cycle tracking. So it's been in the back of my mind probably since uni days. But I thought like, okay, you shouldn't make everything that you want. There are enough apps out there that could suit your need. If it's 80%, just use that and be okay with it. So I'm just going to answer. If anybody in the chat can answer, if you can hear Ola and Lynn very well, if you can, then I will yell at them because I can hear them very well. Anyway, so it's been in the back of my mind for years and years and years. And one of the reasons I didn't make it, of course, is because, as I said, if it's 80% the way, just use the software. It takes too much time to create it yourself and create a business model around it and all of that. So I kind of put it on the back burner. Another reason was that if I was going to make this as a student, most of the people using it would be my friends, and the people you log in these systems are pretty personal. It doesn't have to say that it's not something they would share with me, but I didn't want to be a person that kind of just by doing some maintenance could see it in their like in the database, like, oh, you had sex yesterday or you're on your period, going to that party. So again, I just pushed it in the back of my mind. And then not last year, but February 2019, I went to Global Diversity CFP Day, which is a day where they try to help underrepresented groups in tech to create talk proposals for tech conferences. And one of the things we learned there was a way, and I went there because I thought I would do a talk on Gatsby, which was like the thing I was really interested in at the time, and also the framework we use for POW. But then, so I had lots of Gatsby ideas. But then during the day, they said one way to get talk ideas is to think about things you want to learn, because if you make a talk proposal on that and then it gets accepted, well, then you kind of have to learn it because you're going to do the talk. So that was like in the back of my mind when the article you can see on the slide came out. So the Wall Street Journal had this huge article about how health apps, or I guess all health apps, most health apps, and menstrual trackers among them, would share event data or shares event data with third parties like Facebook, which means in the case of an app like a menstrual cycle tracker app is that whenever you log an event, like say I logged anxious when I was trying to log Mollefunk, if I logged anxious, then that event would get propagated to Facebook, which means they could then sell ad space related to how I was feeling that day. And I don't know how to make a case for that. It's just wrong. It's plain wrong. I don't like it. And that's when the thought hit me like, okay, could I make a privacy first menstrual cycle tracker? Is it possible? What would I need to learn? So I kind of hammered out this talk proposal that was pretty spicy. I should probably find that again. And it got accepted. So the first conference that accepted it was Budapest, which is the slide or the photo that you can see me speaking at. And then 3 more conferences said yes. So then I just had to learn it, didn't I? And there's another image on there that I have forgotten to talk about. And that is, at the time I was using Clue. And I don't really have anything against Clue. I think they're one of the good ones. It seems like they're not sharing their data with third parties. There has been some articles coming out. But at least they sent me this email where they're like, who can see my data? And they said that only a few people could see it, and they would only have a look at it if it was, something they needed. And that's when it clicked for me, kind of like consumer Benedict and developer Benedict coming together. And it kind of clicked to me like, well, somebody actually has access to that data. And it could be somebody I know because I'm a software developer. I know a lot of software developers. So that was also part of kind of that backdrop into creating that talk proposal that got accepted. So I made a talk that ended up being pretty much about encryption and end-to-end encryption, because that is the only way we can truly ensure that nobody else gets access to somebody's data. So end-to-end encryption is that you take the data and you lock it down with a key, and only the person with the key will have access to unlock that data and then read it again. And it all happens on the user's device and will then be unlocked again on the user's device, and whatever is stored in the cloud anywhere else cannot be read by anybody else. It's just like gibberish. So my talk ended up being on end-to-end encryption because that's like the key element of a privacy first application. Gonna have some more wine, and then I'm just gonna actually yell at my partner a little bit. Just gonna turn off the sound for that. Okay, back to just yelled at my partner there. I told him to be quiet. Anyway, so we were talking about encryption. Yes, so the talk ended up being about end-to-end encryption, and I learned a lot about it. I learned how complex it can be. The kind of initial theory around encryption is fairly easy to grasp and understand in theory, but doing it in practice is super duper hard. So I did the talks, but I was preparing to do the talks. And while I was preparing to do the talks, I had to create slides. I hate creating slides. And while I were doing this, wanted to procrastinate on the slides, I started making the app. And at the same time, yes, Droy. Yes, Droy. Okay, I'm trying to get the family to listen because they're all just talking in my ears and it's hard to concentrate, but you get the full experience, right, everyone? So this is how it is to run a family business. Back to the story. So at the same time I was doing these talks or preparing to do these talks, the Norwegian Financial Times came out with a story, or actually the same story as the Wall Street Journal, just 6 months later. So I called the journalist up and I was like, hey, I am making a privacy friendly version of these applications. And she said, yes, oh, super interesting. So when are you going to launch? So I said, March 8th, International Women's Day, because that sounded like a very logical date to me. And it was far off in the future, like 6 months off in the future. And you see that picture of me and Lillian with a newspaper. That's actually the full page article that we got for POW, and, declaring that it would launch March 8th. So that was the date I was working towards. So I just saw a comment, Roy. Thank you. They're probably not. It's good to know that they're not loud enough for you. Maybe I should just play music in my ears so I don't hear them. It's hard to formulate good sentences when you're hearing people speak in the background. So, but good to know. Yeah, so that was the full page article that kind of started the whole POW as a business journey. And I did manage to launch on March 8th, 2020, as you all know, because we are celebrating POW's first birthday. And it's been a ride. So over to the status part. We have 52 paying customers when we left February, so that's one a week. We have had, of course, some cancellations, and the plan for the next year is actually to just keep on getting as many signups as we have this year and keep on improving the product and kind of nail that core feature set, because I'm not completely 100% happy with it. I probably never will be though, but I want it to be more welcoming when people sign up. So now the kind of the empty screens, as we call them, are not as inviting. It's very like empty when when you first sign up for POW, and I want to do some changes to that. I also want to visualize the data better. That's also one of the reasons I don't have much like demos or screenshots, because now it's mostly a journal, like a log. You can see all days. And what's good about POW is that you can see whatever you have logged on this particular day in your cycle before, but you can also see kind of the predictions from yesterday and tomorrow, so you can get a general sense of kind of where you're at in your cycle. But I want to visualize that more with graphs, and I've done some streams on that in February. I did 3 streams, I think, where I tried to explore different ways of visualizing the data. And if I can remember, no, always wrong. I will have some cards up here for playlists in the future for those streams. And I also have some like really good ideas about how I want to do that. And those visualizations I will take with me. And then hopefully before the summer, we're going to make a mini kind of promotional site where people who do not use POW can add in some initial data and see their cycle visualized with some kind of information or knowledge base around it, to kind of get them enticed and into POW, hopefully. It's called an e-bomb. If anyone is interested, they can check that out on Stacking the Bricks. It's an article or it's a concept coined by Amy Hoy, where you kind of make little mini tech products that are actually kind of advertisement for your own for your main product, but they can also kind of stand on their own. And I think that will be a lot of fun to kind of explore visualization there a little bit outside of POW, and then take that visualization back into POW. So that is kind of the main focus in the beginning of this year. So it's Christer who's speaking to Ulla in our like private pre-stream room. I don't know if I'm gonna do this every month, because this was a little, well, we'll see. Will there be an app for it? I don't think I'll need POW, but personally I prefer using apps before getting my desktop for it. Yes, so it's probably not going to be an app as in a native app for a long time. I did make native apps way back when. Been an indie hacker for almost 10 years now. But so it's not going to be a native app, but it is what's called a progressive web application. So if you log into POW and then save it to your home screen on your phone, then it will be there as kind of an icon, and you can open it straight from the icon. So I don't know if you can see. Let's see. Yeah. So you can see that exclamation mark, that's POW. So it kind of looks like an app, and it will work more and more like an app, but it's not a native app that you will get in the App Store. There are some other implications with the App Store. One is that it's just like super hard to do support and stuff when you can kind of force people to upgrade. So I won't do that. If it ever will happen, it will happen when everything is super stable. Another thing is that there have been some issues where they can withhold your app for any reason. And since I'm using encryption, there are some like extra layers of things that they don't like. So I don't know if it would even be allowed in at least the Apple App Store because of the encryption, end-to-end encryption I'm using. I haven't really, thoroughly looked into that. But that's a great question, Roy. Hello, Roy. I don't know how you want me to say that. I'm just going to look at my notes to see if we've covered everything. That was the status, and then we have the plans. Yeah, so we are, as I said, focusing on nailing that core feature set. I'm going to work on it slow and steady. So it's taken me time to like figure out optimal setup for me in terms of how I work. So I realized I cannot work on only one thing. I need several projects going so that I can change so I can move between them and get energy from one into the other, and then kind of like move in a circle between these projects. And going forward, that will be POW. It will be the YouTube channel, which is, very whenever you do a video, when it's done, it's done. Well, with POW, software is never done. So it's like a super long-term project. And then we also want to move into making Gatsby plugins as a service, which is kind of in between. So we'll have POW super long-term. It's one software that will probably never be done. I'm thinking like a 10-year perspective here. And then the plugins will probably live between a year or two, at least before they need like super big updates. And then you have the little videos that, are done when they're done. I'm even making a vlog from today. We'll see how that goes. So that is some of our plans there. So I will never be able, or not, I will never say never, but I thought I would make myself do only POW, but I realized if I do that, I will probably end up chucking the whole thing out, and I'm in it for the long run. So it will be slow and steady wins the race, right? That's what I'm hoping. And then, yeah, so that's the core feature set about how to log and the visualization. And then I've talked about it a little bit, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that this year, but I am hoping to kind of prepare the prediction engine, as I call it. So you log your cycle with these tags, and then you get predictions back. Like, so it's day 10 in your cycle. This is what you've logged before. I want to make that smarter. I want to use research on menstrual cycle lengths, on what people are usually feeling in these different parts of their cycle. I also want to try to make kind of some analysis. There's something called time something statistics or analysis, something like that. So since POW, we don't really have access to your data. All of this has to happen in the browser after all the data is decrypted. So we cannot use like big data or any of that kind of analysis on your data. But I want to make the prediction engine as good as it can be on a single person's set of data. And to do that, I think I need to like look into the research and get information from the research. And since I hope to get information from the research, I also want to give back to the community. So my plan is for the prediction engine in itself to be open sourced at some point. So that is like a big thing I will be working against. And I will also be practicing open source kind of maintenance through my Gatsby plugins, so that when the prediction engine is ready, I am also ready as an open source maintainer and kind of community leader for that open source projects. I don't know if we'll be able to do that this year, but at least that's a goal I'm working against, or working, not against. That would be a wrong thing. I'm not working against it. I'm working towards it, right? So that is like a medium-term goal. And then in the long term, which is going to be super hard, not really from a tech standpoint, but from a usability standpoint, we would like to make it so that people using POW can share their data with select others. So in this household, it would be for me to kind of share some of the data with Ola, so that I don't have to communicate with him. He can then check the app and kind of see a little bit information that I would like for him to have in different parts of my cycle. Could also be interesting to share with housemates. I've heard that millennials do this. They share their cycle with housemates. All kinds of applications, and the backend as a service we're using, Userbase, already supports this, but I think it's going to be super hard to get a really good user experience around it. So that's why we're pushing that out a little further, and it's not really kind of a core functionality, but it's something we would like to see. And I would say all the partners I've talked to say, super great idea. Not all the people who would share it has said it's a good idea, but enough people have said that that's also a good idea. So I hope that's something we can do to differentiate ourselves in the future. And I think that's all for the plans for now. Well, no, there's another thing. People have suggested, or customers have suggested, notifications, like they want to get some kind of notification to keep on logging. And it's such a simple request, but it's such a hard thing to do when everything is encrypted, because we don't have access to your data. I don't know when you logged in last. I could start logging that, but I don't. I don't have access to the data that is the basis for the predictions that you are seeing when you're logged into POW. So it's hard for me to send notifications, based on that data. But actually, Ola, who is our junior dev, had a really good idea. There he is. Because I was thinking, very much like theoretically, like, well, this isn't possible. But then he said, why can't you just let people, or let the customer or user, or what did you say? I'm going to try to explain. Well, and why don't you let the user set the date herself, so that she can let's say, so I don't know. So we as developers would know that this was a notification for 2 days before your next menstruation is coming. But the user could set, on this date, I want a notification, and then add their own text that could be like super secretive, but wouldn't be information for them that this is 2 days before their menstruation starts. Something like that. I didn't explain that too well. Hopefully you understood that. It's the same thing where I want to be able to kind of subscribe to my cycle in Google Calendar, but I don't want Google to know the different cycle dates. I could also do something around that where the user kind of decides what color the different parts of the cycle should be, something like that. And that's the only thing that shows up in the Google Calendar. We'll see how we manage to solve this, but that's also why this is pushed a little bit into the future. Another solution is that we'll just remind people every 3 days, no matter what. So that will probably be the first solution that people can sign up for fairly soonish, if I find something that will let us send something every 3 days without logging any data on our users. Whew, that was a long one. Did you want to say something? Oh, yes.
So, how can we make this super secret? Like you said, the text you send. So that's you just make a reminder that makes sense for you. Like, for example, this card here, you can decide that means something.
Yep.
I'm not. I don't have a cycle, but it's just like any other reminder. It's very good to have actually not use words when you need reminders. It's the more visual and kind of alive it is better. Look at this.
Ooh.
It's Frida Kahlo. That can be your reminder for something. And then, so when you get that in, and some evil corporation, they get it. They're like, I got your message. And they're like, what does it mean? So that's my idea in a way. And they just set it. They just decide when to get it. You don't automate it or make some AI kind of thing. So that was just.
So I've been riffing a little bit on that idea, and I thought it would be fun if people could select GIFs that they will then get as reminders, or GIFs they can send to their partner as reminders. So sorry, that last part ended up being like super long, and this is why I stream also, get those ID churning and verbalized while I'm talking to everyone, because that's something I've realized about myself, is that's a super good way for me to think. And it's not the same when I just kind of write or even talk with Ulla. It's when I am talking on stream, that's when I get a lot of the good ideas. So thank you, Krista and Claire, who got me streaming. And they have also asked before the stream, how has streaming helped you? And it has helped me in verbalizing my ideas. And also after stream, I usually get a lot of good ideas because I've actually done something. And it's something I tell people to do. Like, if you want to get more ideas, you have to do something. You have to take some kind of like action step towards what you're trying to achieve. And that's when your good ideas are coming. I know that. I tell other people that. I forget to do it sometimes. I can get very much up in my head, very theoretical. So doing the streams where I have to spend an hour talking to you and doing for at least a full hour is super beneficial. And it's also helped me during the winter. I do a lot of client work, so I don't have as much time for POW. So doing the streams have kind of helped me at least stay consistent once a week, do something on POW. I've spent some of the streams on other things, but at least it's like kept me coming back to it. And that has been very helpful and has made me have concrete steps and ideas that I now am going to focus on in April and May and June and July and August when I don't do client work and can focus on POW and the YouTube channel and on my Gatsby plugins. So super thank you for that. That was very helpful. And that, I think, is a wrap. This was a long one. We're at 40 minutes. Thank you for sticking with me. It's been super fun for me that so many people showed up and want to keep tabs on POW. I promise to keep these updates running. I thought about making them more general, but I have decided not to. They will be POW updates on the 8th of every month at 8 o'clock. I am planning to do some more vlogs going forward. So that will be coming out on the 28th, hopefully every month. So I'm doing it. I'm sticking to the 8th. So 28 is also pretty funny because that is, the average menstrual cycle length. So I want to mark that every month. And I think that's it for today. I should have had a better closing, shouldn't I? Yes, I forgot. Now you've been sticking with me. And some of you already know. I'm going to share then with you. We have opened a backstage. I'm adding it to the stream. So if you go to coffee.com/usepow, we have opened a virtual backstage. So if you don't really need POW, but you want to keep tabs on what's happening and you can't catch it in the Twitter feed, because things move fast in there, you can follow us on Coffee, and there will be fun things happening. We already have a coloring book you can download. It's pay what you want. We might have some more events. We will share little status updates and snippets. And I don't think we're going to paywall anything, but it will be the place to kind of see behind the scenes of POW in addition to these streams. And it would be fun if a lot of you wanted to hang out there with us. And you can, of course, also donut. In one of the Discords, we talk a lot about donuts, but that's not what I was going to say today. You can also donate to kind of keep us motivated. You can buy us a coffee or a glass of wine, like my friend Snorre did today. So that's all for today. Let's remove this. Happy International Women's Day. We have come far. We will have to keep fighting. And happy POW's first birthday. Signing off. Bye-bye. POW! 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 POW!